Welcome back, YouTube. Your boy Young Mustard has returned for another video, and today we're going to talk about the Eastern Conference. In my last video I talked about the West and my biggest takeaways from each and every team so far into the season. And obviously, as you can tell from the title and part of my intro, today we are going to do the same thing before the Eastern Conference side of things. But before we go any further, if you enjoyed this content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I just hit 57,000 subscribers. Thank you for all the support that you guys have shown me. It's really been a blessing that I am this successful on YouTube. I know I'm not as big as other YouTubers, but I still appreciate all the support that you guys have shown me, because it's because of y'all that I am at this point. It is a true blessing for real. But without further ado, let's start off with our first team in the Eastern Conference, and that is the Washington Wizards. This team stinks right now. They are 1-5. They just got their first win against the Minnesota Timberwolves of all teams, who suck on defense, so that's to be expected. And ironically, the Wizards have the same problem. They can't defend anybody. When you have a collection of bad defenders like Thomas Bryant, you also have Davis Bertans, Bradley Beal's not that great on the defensive end, and then you throw Russell Westbrook into the mix, who's really inconsistent on that side of the ball. No wonder they're 1-5. Sure, they can put up points, but when you're giving up just as many to the opposing team, no wonder you're gonna lose to a team like the Chicago Bulls. I love my squad, but we suck. Moving on to the next team, we have the Detroit Pistons, and my biggest takeaway with this team is that Blake Griffin, despite the fact that he's shown some flashes of being really good, as in his second game he recorded 26 points, 6 rebounds and 4 assists along with 3 steals, and actually knocked down 8 3-pointers in that game. The issue with Blake is that currently he is out due to a concussion, and sure, you may say that's a freak accident type of thing, but when it comes to Blake Griffin, injuries are just a part of who he is, and it looks like despite the fact that he can have flashes of great games here or there, his health and body is just not going to hold up for the remainder of this season, as every single year he suffers some type of injury, you know. But if you're a Pistons fan, you kind of have to be a little bit excited due to the other parts of this team like Jeremy Grant and Killian Hayes. But I'm sure a lot of them wanted Blake Griffin to be healthy, because if Blake is healthy, I think they could be a competitive team at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Not saying they'd make the playoffs, but I think competing for a play-in opportunity is not as far-fetched as a lot of people may make it seem. But because of this Blake Griffin injury problem, I think that's going to continue throughout the rest of the year, and due to that, I don't even think they're going to come close to a playoff spot. But moving on to the next team, we have the Toronto Raptors, and my biggest takeaway is that Pascal Siakam looks like Bubble Siakam. He has been playing terrible. Currently, he's averaging 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists, while shooting 39% from the field and 33% from behind the arc. And sure, he's only played 3 games, but if you actually go and look at some of these games, he's trying out new moves and he looks awful. He's tripping over his own feet whenever he tries to do crossovers. He's getting clamped whenever he does that spin move, and it's just very obvious that Siakam is a one-dimensional type of scorer. He can only really score in transition efficiently, and outside of that, it looks like teams have found a way to slow down, or at least I should say stop, because teams are really just stopping that weak-ass spin move that he does. My boy Darius has been saying it on the pod over the last couple of months. The guy is a walking Beyblade. That's all he does, and that's my takeaway with this team, and I don't think they're even going to make the playoffs at this rate. But regardless, let's move on to the next Eastern Conference team. We got the Chicago Bulls. Yes, my squad. I got to be honest, my takeaway is that I think Zach LaVine's going to be traded. Whether it's this year, next year, sometime in the future, Zach LaVine will be off this roster. And as much as I want to deny it, I have to be honest with myself, and we just suck, bro. Our defense is terrible. We can't guard a single fly. And Zach LaVine, he's putting up numbers that are just not correlating to wins. And sure, this year he's gotten off to a little bit of a slow start. He's shooting below 44% from the field and 30% from behind the arc on 7 attempts a game. He could definitely improve in that area. But considering the fact that we're just not good, despite Patrick Williams looking like baby Kawhi, you know what I'm saying? I just don't think we're good enough to convince him to stay in Chicago when his contract is up. And considering the moves that we made up top this past offseason, if there is an immediate change for the rest of the year, I don't see how Zach LaVine is going to want to be in Chicago long term. But moving on to our next takeaway in the Eastern Conference, I got the New York Knicks. Honestly, I really hate the Knicks. For those who do not know, I think this team should be admonished from the NBA. But I will say this, Julius Randle? Looks like he has found his mojo back. And to be fair, it's only been 5 games for them. They're 2-3, but in those 5 games, Julius Randle is out there looking like Nikola Jokic in the box score. The guy's averaging 23 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists, while shooting 53% from the field, 54% from behind the arc, and also 77% from the free throw line. He's going out there playmaking for his team, getting boards, scoring, even knocking down some 3-pointers. Pelicans' Julius Randle is back, at least for now until the Knicks ruin his career. But moving on to the next team that we have, we got the Miami Heat. And to be honest, there aren't really that many takeaways I have with this roster, but I will point out the fact that Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, their time for growth and development begins now, because they had a nice little playoff run last year, but it's over. It's time to move forward and grow as individual players so you can get back to the NBA Finals and not only get a finals appearance, but actually win the championship, because that's really the next step for this Miami Heat team. Apparently, according to the reports, they are out of the James Harden sweepstakes, and currently Bam Adebayo is averaging 19, 8, and 4 on 63% shooting from the field. Tyler Hero averaging 16, 6, and 4 on 48% from the field and 33% from behind the arc on 5 attempts. And considering the fact that Tyler Hero is 21, Bam Adebayo is 23, it's very obvious that they are the future for this team, and Miami clearly sees it that way, because if they're going to turn down the James Harden trade rumors, then I think it's fairly obvious that they don't want to trade Tyler Hero due to the fact that they did give Bam his extension, so Tyler Hero would be the guy that they would trade for any type of star in this league. And if the rumors are to be believed, that means they think Tyler Hero can become a superstar in this NBA. And if that's the case, that means we need to start seeing growth in a guy like Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo being more than just a defender in Bam Adebayo's case, in which I think he already is more than that, and in the case of Tyler Hero, more than just being a really good shooter. They got to grow into more than what they already are, because the Heat need them to be more than what they already are as soon as possible, because who knows when their window is going to close, especially with Jimmy Butler leading the helm. But moving on to the next team, we got the Charlotte Hornets, and there are a lot of storylines with this roster. You got Gordon Hayward, who looks like he's back to Utah Gordon Hayward, which is a plus. The only thing I fear for him is health, because that's been a huge problem for him ever since he left Utah. And then you also have Terry Rozier, who his numbers are kind of inflated from game 1, but he's shooting relatively efficient from behind the arc, which is what he did last year. And that dunk on KD, shout out to my guy Scary Terry, because he's in his bag right now, out to prove that he's not the one that needs to get benched. It's that other guy, Devontae Graham, which leads into my takeaway for this team, which is how long is it going to be until LaMelo takes his spot? Because though Devontae is a really solid playmaker, he is so inefficient. It is crazy. The guy is averaging less than 10 points per contest. Sure, he's averaging 7 assists, but he's shooting 27% from the field and 31% from behind the arc on 7 attempts a game. Sometimes he goes out there and jacks up stupid shots that he should not be taking, and that just shows a lack of discipline and fundamentals. The coach needs to bench him because he has been playing terrible, and I actually think, unlike a lot of people, that the Hornets have at least a shot at the play-in spot. And I think that if you bench Devontae as soon as possible and start LaMelo, let him run with T. Rowe and Gordon Hayward and all those guys in the starting lineup, and I think that you will see positives up and down. Devontae's game is even more suited for a bench player anyways, so I would just move him to the bench or trade him as soon as you can so you can just get compensation, because he looks like a bad NBA player right now. I may be forcing, but just look at what he's doing on the court, look at his numbers, and I guarantee you y'all will see what I'm trying to say. But moving on to the next team, we got the Milwaukee Bucks, and I know the Bucks are 3-3, and that's alarming to some people, but I just think it's more so because they got to integrate Drew into that team, and a lot of their bench players are gone. So I think that's more so due to the fact that they just have to put some integrating pieces onto that roster, and they need some time to get some chemistry built between the players. But my takeaway is that Giannis still can't shoot. And sure, you have to give him credit for at least trying, because he is attempting 5 threes a game, but he's shooting 24% from behind the arc. My goodness, I love you, Giannis, but maybe you should just not shoot the ball as much, because you're not even efficient in the shots that you're attempting, and teams are leaving you open for a reason. I get the whole wanting to be a perimeter player and handle the ball and all of that, but leave that to Drew and Middleton. Maybe you should just focus more in the post and try to perfect your game down low. Go visit Hakeem, learn some post moves, and become a post player. You don't have to always be perimeter oriented. You can do that from time to time, but we all know in the playoffs that shit just doesn't work. And even in some games in the regular season so far, teams have walled him up and he has struggled. So Giannis, maybe you need to change up your game and not be so perimeter oriented. That's my takeaway with this roster. But moving on to the next team, we got the Boston Celtics. And man, oh man, this one is going to be crazy. I've seen a lot of people say that Jaylen Brown is better than Jayson Tatum. And to be fair to the people that shared this opinion, Jaylen Brown is averaging 28 points per game, 5 rebounds and 3 assists along with 2 steals, shooting 57% from the field, 37% from behind the arc, and we all know his contributions on the defensive side of the ball. As far as his one-on-one defense, it's elite. I gotta give it to him. He is a good two-way player, and so far this year I would even label him a great two-way player from what we've seen this season. But I think people need to understand that Jaylen Brown had one great game that really inflated his numbers so far this season, and sure, it was a great game. I'm not going to take it away from him. He was sensational in that game. To have 40 points before the third quarter, that is incredibly impressive. I will never take away, like I said earlier, what he did in that game. But Jayson Tatum is still putting up comparable numbers to Jaylen Brown. He's averaging 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists, while shooting 45% from the field, 38% from 3 on 8 attempts to Jaylen Brown's 5, and he's also a way better free throw shooter than Jaylen Brown, as that's been a crutch for Jaylen Brown throughout his career, as Tatum is shooting 80% to Jaylen Brown's 67%. And I know people are going to bring up the fact that Jaylen Brown's a better on-ball defender, but off-ball, Jaylen Brown's not the greatest off-ball defender. He's not a great team defender. I think people exclude those other parts of the defensive side of the ball too much, as Tatum is a way better team defender and a way better off-ball defender, but he's also just as good as an on-ball defender, if not just a little bit worse, because Tatum is actually an elite defender that doesn't get his just due on that side of the ball. He has to go out there and guard power forwards, and sure, we are in a stretch 4 league, but for a guy of Tatum's frame, I still think that's fairly impressive, because he really should be playing the small forward. He's only playing the power forward out of the necessity of the Boston Celtics due to them just being a small team. And mind you, I haven't even addressed the offensive side of the ball when you just look at their skill sets, because anybody that's not being biased knows that Jayson Tatum is a far better shot creator than Jaylen Brown, and considering that he's also an elite defender, I think that should just kill the argument right then and there. Jaylen Brown is a good player and can be just as good as Jayson Tatum one day, if not better, but as of now, Tatum is still definitely that guy. But moving on to the next team, we got the Brooklyn Nets, and my takeaway is already something I've talked about in the recent video, so I won't spend too much time on it. It's that this team is amazing. I gotta be honest, up and down this roster, starting lineup, bench lineup, they look amazing. And sure, they are 3-3. I can understand people's concerns on that, but considering the fact that one of the games they lost was to the Grizzlies and they didn't even have KD or Kyrie for that game, I think that should speak for itself. And when you just look at this roster, they already look like they have so much chemistry, and once playoff time comes, they are going to be scary. Mark my words. But moving on to the next team that we have in the Eastern Conference, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers, and my takeaway is very simple. Collin Sexton and Darius Garland, they look like the truth. Currently, Collin Sexton is averaging 26 points per game while shooting 55% from the field and 60% from behind the arc, albeit on 3 attempts. But when you look at Darius Garland, he's going out there on a night-to-night basis so far this year, averaging 19 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds and a steal, shooting 50% from the field and 52% from behind the arc on 6 attempts per contest. They have a nice little young duo in the backcourt. Defensively, Darius isn't that great, but in the case of Collin Sexton, he's actually taking even more leaps on that side of the ball, so that is a huge plus. They complement each other very well. Sexton isn't too much of a playmaker, and that's where Darius steps in. And then in the case of defense, Darius isn't that great of a defender, and that's where Sexton steps in. So shout out to the Cavs. I was very critical on them taking back-to-back point guards in the drafts, but so far it looks like it's paying dividends, and I gotta give them credit where it's due. But moving on to the next Eastern Conference team, we got the Orlando Magic, and I could talk about a lot of things. They currently are 4-1. Terrence Ross is playing well early in the season. Vucevic is also off to a great start so far, and Markelle Fultz, it looks like he has finally found a home. I am very happy for him, but I want to talk about Aaron Gordon. This guy sucks. Sure, he's a really flexible defender and is solid on that side of the ball, but offensively he has plateaued so far under that it is ridiculous. This guy has not been the same ever since 2018. He's averaging the lowest amount of points that he's averaged ever since his sophomore season. He's also shooting 46% from the field, which isn't that impressive when you consider he's a power forward, and he's also shooting 14% from behind the arc, albeit on 3 attempts per contest, and he's also shooting 68% at the charity strike. He is a bad offensive player. I don't know what happened to him, but whatever he was doing in 2018, he needs to start doing that again, because if he doesn't, he will be one of the most overpaid players in the league. Let's not forget that he's making $18 million this year and $16 million next year. The guy was signed for a 4-year, $76 million extension, and ever since then, he's been worse. Literally ever since he put that pen to the paper, he has been a worse NBA player year after year after year. So Aaron Gordon, get your shit together. But moving on to the next team, we got the Atlanta Hawks, and everybody knows I've been very critical of Trae Young on this channel, and I gotta give it to him. He's proven me wrong. He looks like he could actually be a winning player, and to be quite honest with you guys, if he proves me wrong, I'm not going to be mad, because I like Trae Young as a player. A lot of people just think I hate on him and I shit on him for no reason, but currently he is averaging 31 points per game, 8 assists and 5 rebounds. He's also shooting 46% from the field, 36% from behind the arc, and he is getting to the free throw line like crazy. He's shooting 91% at the free throw line while also getting 13 attempts per game. Yes, it is incredible how he is getting to the line, and if you see the games, he's been using the exact same move over and over, and people just keep bumping into them, or he's bumping into them. Pick your piece when it comes to that. And when it comes to Trae, my takeaway is that he can contribute to wins because he's doing it right now and is proving haters like me wrong and making us look stupid. But moving on to the next team, we got the Indiana Pacers, and man, I'm just gonna give a shout out to Domantas Sabonis here. He is having an incredible season. Currently, he's averaging 22 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists, while shooting 57% from the field, and is actually shooting 54% from behind the arc, albeit on less than 3 attempts a game. But you gotta give him credit for at least trying to expand his game, because he's had some really good 3-point shooting games. He's had 3 games in which he's at least attempted 2 threes a game and has made 2 threes a game, so he's at least being efficient in the shots that he's taking, so credit to him on that. Domantas Sabonis looks like a star right now, and let's not forget the guy is only 24 years of age. He can still get better as time progresses, so shout out to Sabonis. The Pacers are officially his team, and he has been phenomenal this year. Early MVP candidate as we speak right now. Moving on to the next team, we got the Philadelphia 76ers, and my takeaway is really simple. Trade for James Harden now. Because to all the Philly fans, I understand Simmons just made a 3 against the Orlando Magic the other day, but yo, this guy stinks, bruh. He's not a bad player, and obviously I'm exaggerating when I say that, but this guy is literally a 6'10" Rajon Rondo, and it's so annoying because he can do everything at an elite level except shoot. And it's not even about the fact that he can't shoot, he just won't shoot it. So imagine substituting that with James Harden. The supporting cast they have, obviously they're not great defenders. The only great defenders on that team is Embiid and Simmons, but still, man, to pair James Harden with Embiid, I believe would make them one of the best, if not the best duo in the NBA. And sure, you're gonna lose Simmons, who's an elite defender who could win the Defensive Player of the Year this season, but you're getting back James Harden. That should be enough compensation right there, because we all know in the playoffs, Ben Simmons is probably the easiest player to game plan for due to him just not being willing to shoot. Not even just make it, just shoot it. So as far as I'm concerned, they're not going anywhere until they trade Ben Simmons, and they're just wasting their time not trying to trade for James Harden. But that concludes this video, you guys. This was very long, and I apologize for that. But if you guys stuck around, make sure you drop a like if you enjoyed it. Comment your opinions down below. I would love to know what you guys thought about this video. Also, hit that subscribe button, push the bell for post notifications. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Y'all stay safe and have a great day. Peace.